Hey everyone, how's it going? Erin O'Malley here, and my question to start today is, how many of you have been to a professional development class on listening? I'm going to bet most of you. It seems to be one of these skills that people always want to enhance and learn more about. And I can imagine that when you went to this class, that the conversation was a conversation about what does listening look like? What does it sound like? How can you tell? There was lots of talking about listening, but there wasn't any actual experience of listening. Inevitably, I bet someone talked about nodding your head and responding with comments like, yes, interesting, to show that you're listening. There was the never interrupt person, who's probably the interrupter, and then always the person that channeled their 1974 Stephen Covey and said the seek first to understand and then be understood. And there was a collective yes across the class. And it was always that guy that in the afternoon, when you moved on to a different conversation, who interrupted you, who did not listen, and who was not trying to understand you, but instead shove his opinion down your throat. This is what happens with so many active listening classes. We talk, but we don't change because we're not experiencing. Enter story, session, activity. This is my creation, my response to all of those bad active listening classes, which, to be clear, I taught my fair share of, and it drove me nuts. I knew by asking, people can nod their heads, but what does it really feel like to be heard? What does it feel like when you're not being heard? How can we experience this? Because when we experience it, when we connect our behaviors with feelings, this is when we can create change. This is when we want to change our behaviors. And this is the message of Story Session. So in a quick nutshell, one person is a storyteller. They get 3 minutes to get a small group excited about a vacation that they went on. They talk about the sounds, the smells, the foods, the tastes. 3 minutes to tell a story. The other people in the group each have a card. Half of them with good listening techniques and half of them with things that people do that show that they are not listening at all. And watching this group, watching the story session go down is always so interesting. The reaction of the storyteller, the reaction of the people in the group, and them really experiencing the good and the bad of listening. So now I know it's a little bit ironic that we're going to work through some of these activities. Ironic because I just said that when you're talking about listening, a whole lot doesn't change. But I'm hoping that through talking through a few of these examples, it'll give you food for thought. It'll give you something to think about and to be able to reflect on how you are listening. Are you listening to connect or not? So one of my favorite examples came from my time in the Peace Corps. Now, meetings in the Peace Corps, meetings on the island that I lived at with the tourism group that I was helping, would last 4 hours. I mean, they started an hour late, obviously, but then out of Panamania, they think they just started late. Hours. Then you'd sit there listening to people talk over each other, listening to no point. They were painful. And after months of these meetings, I left one and I said, that's it. I can't even anymore. I can't. And so what I decided to do was to have a meeting, or in the case of Panama, a charla. So we gathered everyone together and I organized an agenda, that in itself a foreign concept to meetings in Panama. And one of the agenda items was this. I gave everyone in the group a piece of paper. And I said, on the count of 3, read what it says on the paper. I counted to 3, 1, 2, 3, and on 3, they all started reading. The sentence, the paper said things like, the rooster crows by the fence at midnight, I like a walk on the beach. They were just nonsensical, random statements. And afterwards, when everyone's read out loud all at the same time, I turned to Luisa and I said, Luisa, what did Pablo say? No sé. Said Pablo, what did Abel say? Yo no sé. Abel, what did Mario say? Yo no sé. And as I asked everyone, no one knew what anyone said. And I said, right. Because when we are all talking at once, when we are talking on top of each other, no one can hear anything. And the time and the energy and the lack of respect, the toll this takes is ridiculous. Now, we all had a really good laugh because in that moment, after they all read their sentences out loud, they realized that that's what they did for most of the meetings. They talked over each other. They weren't pausing. They weren't trying to understand. So going forward, we came up with the idea, kind of an old school idea in itself, that we would talk. If you had the wooden spoon, you could talk. We brought a wooden spoon to the meeting, and if you had something to say, you would raise your hand, wait for the spoon, and it would be your turn to say it. So as part of the story session activity, I have people interrupt each other, talk over each other, and you can see the annoyance and the confusion, and the other people can't hear what's happening. They can't understand when we are talking over each other. So as you go forward today into your next meeting or into your next conversation or gathering where there's a lot of people, notice, are people talking over each other? I mean, sometimes that's okay, but are they doing it in a way that only certain voices are being heard? Are they doing it in a way that the quiet folks aren't speaking up? And what can be your wooden spoon? What can you bring to make sure that people are talking one at a time, they're not talking over each other, and that all of the voices in the room are heard? That's all for now. We'll be back with more hits from the story session activity, and we'll talk to you soon.